We are live. We are live. I think.
We are. Hold on. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Welcome everybody to another episode of Secular Jihadists for a Muslim Enlightenment. This is our end of the month, November 2020, end of the month episode. This is our Ask Us Anything episode. This is the time when you drive the show.
Your audio is choppy audio again.
Was it okay before? Armin, it's going to be like this until December 15th, and then after that, it's going to be fine. How choppy is it? Did everybody hear what I said? Did they hear the prayer in the beginning?
Yes, they did. But it's supposed to be. Auzu shaitan minan Allah regime.
Bismillah. Auzu Darwin. Okay, so Susanna is saying now that's an opening. That's what she said. I mean, not that's what she said. I mean, that's what Susanna said.
That's literally what she said. But go on. Okay.
Right. So, yeah, this is a time when we do our monthly Q&A. A'udhu bi Armin minat shaitan minat Allah. Okay, whatever.
That's good. That's a good one.
I'm very confused now. So before we start, and everybody send in your questions. Welcome, everybody. This is a public live stream, so this is for everybody. It's not just for patrons. So everyone can join in. And if you like what you hear tonight, go and be a patron. Okay, it's secularjihadist.com or patreon.com/SJME. Go in there. You can be a patron for as little as $1. And if you can't be a patron, that's perfect. If you like, tell everybody about it.
Ali's audio is really choppy right now. Right? Live chat, please tell Ali his audio is very choppy. But it's fine. It's fine. We'll get over it.
Why is it choppy? I don't understand. Wasn't it okay before?
It's okay.
All right.
It was okay before,
sorry.
right at a minute.
I've had technical difficulties, and they're all going to be resolved December 15th onwards.
It's fine. It's fine. This is a good excuse for me. I'm going to be answering most of your questions because of Ali's audio. It's fine. But send us your questions in the live chat. But before we answer your questions, okay, make sure you post some questions in the live chat. But before,
tag Secular Jihadists.
No, it's okay. Yeah, okay. By the way, we have somebody saying hello from Istanbul. Hello back right at you, PD.
Yeah.
Right. But I wanted to show something to people here that I noticed, that I'm very proud of noticing. Okay, but. So you guys, this is the type of content that you come here for, okay? So I do want to show this. Ali, is it okay if I show people something before we start? Do you want to give people some You're good at giving people context while the questions are coming in. Oh, we already have questions coming in. But before we get to the questions, I just want to show some people something very special, very interesting. Do you want to provide a short context for people before I show them this?
Yeah, the nuclear scientist in Iran was taken out, right? Sorry, how do you pronounce his last name again, Armin?
Wait, hold on. Let me Fakhrizadeh.
Yeah, Fakhrizadeh. This last name.
Mohsen Fakhrizadeh.
Right. So Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was taken out. Okay, a little while ago, Benjamin Netanyahu had said his name, which I can't say, and he said, "Remember this name." Okay. About a week before he was assassinated, Netanyahu and MBS of Saudi Arabia and Mike Pompeo, the U.S. Secretary of State, had all met, and then a week later, this guy was dead. And what Armin is going to show you, okay, and so the suspicion right now is that this was a combined hit, basically from Israel and the Arab League. There's some of these new sort of like Saudi Arabia and so on.
We don't know how involved the Arab League was.
We don't know exactly how.
Israel.
But apparently he was murdered by a drone-controlled machine gun from a car that later exploded. So this is some serious,
we just know that the assassination was very, very sophisticated. A lot of people were involved. The details that are coming out are contradictory. So we don't know exactly how it was taken out, the details. But it was very sophisticated. It was like 007 kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Very nicely done. very good take, I would say. Like it was a good assassination, in my opinion. Okay.
Well, we're talking about process. We're not passing a judgment on whether
No,
it's okay.
I am passing a judgment.
Oh,
It
you
was
are
good.
passing a judgment.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
No, but we're not. We're going to talk about that on a future episode.
now let me tell you, his
What?
funeral. What Armin's going to show you is a
Mm.
picture from this man's funeral in Iran,
Right.
and
Right.
so we had this.
Wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I'm saying we had this thing last when they killed Soleimani. You know, Iran kind of did a pretend retaliation, and then they said it was all done. And this was like a pretty big gun in Iran, and it kind of didn't really do much. There wasn't much of a retaliation, so it was kind of interesting to see how they would retaliate to this, if they would. And we are going to have a separate episode on this entire thing. But for a teaser, Armin, show the picture.
Okay, before I show you the picture, I just want to say that I showed this picture to Ali to see if he notices what I noticed, and he at first it took him only a few seconds to notice it. Okay, so if there are any ex-Shias in the live chat, I think Qasim is an ex-Shia. See if you know. Ali was good. Ali noticed it. Ali was like, "Oh, what? But I noticed it as well, and I want to see if you guys notice this as well. Okay, so this is hold on. This is the funeral of the scientist. Okay, first picture coming out of. So this is the scientist that was assassinated by Israeli agents inside Iran's borders. Okay, any ex-Shias noticing there's something special? There's something not quite right about this picture. Do you guys notice it? Anybody? Qasim, do you notice it? I know Qasim. Soha is an ex-Muslim, so she's here as well, but she's ex-Sunni, I think. So I don't know. Yes. I think Susanna gave it away at the beginning. Susanna, what a spoiler you are. But yeah, Murtad is noticing it. Yeah, yes, the sign.
The sign.
The sign, yeah, Murtad noticed it. I don't know if Murtad noticed it. Yes.
If you were ever a true Shia.
No, it's not the green, guys.
Okay, so I will describe it. So what we're seeing, for those who are listening and not watching this, is there's a bunch of people around this man, and he is in a casket and draped in the Iranian flag, and that's his body lying there, and behind him there is a green sort of fabric that's hanging from the wall with the words. Armin, you want to say it?
Ya Hassan.
Ya Hassan.
Very weird because yes, there's two dots missing here. There are two dots and a line, a small line, and there are two dots and a line missing here.
And let me explain. So the difference in Arabic and in Persian and in Urdu between Hassan and Hussein is two dots under the ye, right, or the ya.
Right.
So you need those two dots underneath. Change Hassan to Hussein. Those two dots are missing. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Hassan is the second imam. Okay. Hussein is the third imam. Both the grandchildren of Prophet Muhammad. Okay. I lived in Iran most of my life. Okay. My entire life, I've seen thousands of religious banners throughout my childhood. Okay. I've seen many of them saying Ya Ali. I've seen many of them saying Ya Hussein. I've seen many of them saying Ya Fatima. I've never in my entire life ever seen a religious banner, Shia religious banner, saying Ya Hassan. Ya Hussein is the most popular one. Ya Hassan, it's okay. So I'm an ex-Shia. Ali also here is an ex-Shia. This whole Ya Hussein is such an intuitive thing for us that he even did it, like the first time he saw the sign, when I showed it to him, he thought like looked at the sign and he said Ya Hussein. Like Ya Hassan doesn't even compute in our brain for anybody to say Ya Hassan. Okay, so then he had to have a second take. Or like, oh wow, it doesn't say Ya Hussein, it says Ya Hassan. And he was like, what the hell? What's wrong? Do you guys understand?
Yeah. So why?
This
can't just be a typo.
This is not a typo.
This is a publicly shared picture that's going to go out to the world. And it doesn't say Ya Hussein, it says Ya Hassan. What is the significance of that?
The significance of that is Ya Hussein. Hussein is the third Imam, Hussein in Shia Islam, is a symbol of rebellion and resistance as facing up against evil, jihad against the Yazid, against monarchs, against oppression, against brutality, okay? And that's what the identity of Shia Islam is. Hussein defines Shia Islam as the oppressed standing up against the oppressor, right? And that's Ya Hussein is the rallying cry of Shia Islam against its enemies, against the powers that be. Okay, what did Hassan do? Okay, so Hussein, when Yazid told him that he's the caliphate, Hussein didn't accept that, and he went and raised an army against Yazid, and he died. Okay, he was killed. He became a martyr. His brother before him, Hassan, when they told him that he doesn't get to rule, he said, fine, okay. He did a deal. He had a peace agreement. Hassan signed a peace agreement with Muawiyah, which was the caliph at the time, instead of rebelling. Hassan backed down, what his brother later didn't do. Why is it that at this time, like for 1300 years, Shias seem to have forgotten that they have an Imam called Hassan? Only at his birthday or death day, they just have this passing notion, we have this other Imam. His name is Hassan. But nobody gives a crap about Hassan. Nobody in Shia Islam gives two shits about Hassan, okay? They're just like, he's just there, okay? It's just Hussein, Ali, and Fatima. Nobody else matters. Mahdi also matters. Nobody else really matters. Even Imam Sadiq matters. From the 12 Imams, Hassan is like the least important one, okay? I mean,
actually, in some subsects of Shiaism, right, specifically like some forms of Sixer Shiaism, Hassan is not even recognized as an Imam.
We're talking about 12 Imams. We're talking about what's coming. I mean, they don't admit this, but Hassan doesn't matter, okay? All of a sudden, everybody's talking. In the past couple of months, Rouhani is speaking about Hassan, and other people in Iran calling about Hassan. And at the funeral, like where the whole world is now paying attention, is Iran going to retaliate? Is Iran going to retaliate or not? At the funeral of their top scientist that was killed inside Iran's border, the sign doesn't say Ya Hussein. The sign says Ya Hassan. I mean, this is triggering people that want, right now, there are a lot of people in Iran that are demanding revenge. And they're looking at the sign and they're like, why are you saying Ya Hassan instead of Ya Hussein? What does this mean? Are you guys going to surrender? Because here's the thing, the authoritarian, the mullahs in Tehran, they cannot just come and say, like, guys, we need to negotiate with the United States because the sanctions are crippling our economy, because there is an internal demand for standing strong against oppressors. Okay, so you think like it's not like when you look at like Khamenei and the hardliners in Iran, it's not like whatever they say goes. They also have a religious base that they need to appeal to. And right now, the religious base in Iran, they want revenge. And they act like they're all tough and stuff and that they're going to stand against the United States, but they be desperate right now. They be desperate for a deal right now. They have all they're hoping for a deal with Biden, going back to the nuclear deal. And they want to act tough because they need to act tough to their own internal audience. But they're trying to use these dog whistles to say, like, listen, guys, I know we have Hussein. I know we are about Hussein, but Hussein is not the only way. We also have Hassan. Hassan is also the way. I mean, Shia Islam doesn't just come with Hussein. Shia Islam also comes with Hassan. Sometimes you need to negotiate. Sometimes you need to sign a peace deal. And the people in Iran, the religious ones, not all, okay? again, this is like 10 million out of 80 million people, okay, that are very, 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 very religious, and they want to hard push back, and they want like to humiliate Israel and United States, and they're demanding revenge. They need to be eased into the idea of a new deal, okay? Because they're like, what the hell are you talking about? We had a deal, they threw it away. Are you going to go sign another deal with them, right? So people are basically testing the waters with this whole Hassan. Mentioning Hassan is a way for them to kind of signal to their base that, guys, you better fall in line, because this is not just the reformists, because it used to be the reformists. The reformists were guys like, guys, we need a deal, and the fundamentalists, the hardliners, were like, screw a deal. We need to stand strong against these our oppressors. Now the sanctions have been so devastating that the hardliners don't want to admit it, but they also are looking for a deal. And instead of saying it outright, because they look so weak and pathetic if they do it, because after 4 years of saying that never again they will negotiate with the United States, they will look so weak and pathetic if they just now go out and outright say that we need to do a deal. Instead of doing that, they're basically putting signs out like this by suggesting it indirectly rather than saying it. By saying Ya Hassan instead of Ya Hussein. This is weird, by the way. I've never seen a Ya Hassan.
I've never seen it, and it's really, and this is what I think we need to do a whole episode on this, because it's going to be interesting. What the Trump administration is doing before they leave is, they've done this assassination. Apparently an IRGC guy got taken out today too. They've already taken out Soleimani. They know that, and Iran is, Biden wants to start something like the old Iran deal again, right? The Trump administration on its way out and Netanyahu and all these guys and MBs together are trying to set the stage to not let that happen, to dissuade Iran from doing that. So this kind of, it may indicate that Iran's kind of seeing through it and they're thinking 2 steps ahead, but it's just interesting as a game, right? It's this is like just a strategic game of what they're doing. They know that there's a transition happening. So this is actually going to be very interesting. I think it'll probably be one of the most interesting stories of 2021, how this Iran versus Israel, and Iran versus the Israel/Arab League alliance, how all of that plays out, because it's going to be a complete paradigm shift for the Middle East. It's just not like it was 4 years ago. Things are very, very different now. So,
Awesome in the live chat, who's also Iranian ex-Shia, is saying, believe it or not, I have never seen a flag signed Ya Hassan. Imam Hassan's birthday or death days has little importance for Islamic Republic. It's all about Hussein. Yeah, exactly. Morton is saying, are there any reactions to this picture from Iranians that make it clear how many people are seeing and accepting the message? So far, what I've seen are people who have been demanding some retaliation. They're looking at the sign and they're demanding an answer about who put that. They want to. They're saying whoever put that sign there is probably Mossad agent. They're like they're like it's so amazing because they're triggered by their own imam right now. Okay, this is a Shia imam, and they're seeing a sign of their own imam, and they're triggered by it, and they're saying that there must be like some kind of like somebody is infiltrating the people who are close to there. They want an investigation to see who put that sign up there. That's what the reaction has been.
Iran can be very surprising. It can be very interesting because I remember at one point people were like, Iran and Al Qaeda would never ever work with each other. But then it turned out that a lot of Bin Laden's family that had fled was being sheltered in Iran as well. So, it's really Peter Bergen writes about this really well. I mean, it's interesting how Iran does play with people who they have, and like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That matters a lot more than actual alliances based on ideology or politics. But anyway, let's get to the questions now, or
yes, get questions. And guys, send us more questions. Here's the first one.
about anything and everything. It doesn't have to be about religion, politics. It can be, this is your
Yes.
chance to ask us whatever the hell you want.
Yes.
Will Philippi is saying, do both Iran and Saudi Arabia have the guardian system for women? How far can women go under if the male guardian allows it? So you grew up in Iran. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. Do you want to go first?
Well, Iran has less limitations on women than Saudi Arabia, but it's still but that's not saying much because they still don't get to travel outside of the country. If your father or your husband, depending on whether you're married or not, doesn't allow it, you still don't get to go get higher education or get a job if your father and your husband doesn't allow it. One thing to be said though, that only happens in actually no. Okay, so what some Iranians might say as a defense is that most Iranians won't use that because Iranian culture influenced Iranians a lot in many circles more than Islamic culture. But that option is always there, right? So you can see there are examples. So religious families take advantage of these whenever they want to. But I've seen some examples of people that even hate Islam. If they all of a sudden don't want their wives to leave Iran, they will take advantage of these laws there, even if they hate Islam. You know what I mean? It's there for them to take advantage. Let's say, for example, you don't want to. Let's say you're not religious at all, but your wife wants to go to university, and you're like, no, I don't want you to go to university. You need to focus on family and stuff. And she's like, no, I want to go to university. Well, technically, you could stop her, right? So, and some people take advantage of that, which is very unfair. But I think in Saudi Arabia is a lot worse because you don't even get to go outside, like walking alone. Yeah, okay.
You have to have permission. Some of those things have changed. As you know, women are now allowed to drive. Certain women, not everybody, but then the women who did fight for the right to drive are all in jail for being political dissidents, for fighting for a right that is now become a reality, but because they fought for it, they're still in jail and they're being tortured. So in Saudi Arabia, it's a lot more. I would say a lot more repressive. In Iran, of course, it's extremely repressive for women too. But you have, I've heard women drive cabs and they ride motorcycles and things like that.
Yeah.
In Iran, right? I mean, that's not something that you
and even though
in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, and even though these laws exist on the books in Iran, and if anybody does want to take advantage of them, they can. Most people don't. Iranian culture does see women as a lot more than Islamic culture, and again, the crime is still it's devastating that this is available for any man that wants to take advantage of it. But it's very uncommon to see some men taking advantage of these laws in Iran, right? So so there is less of a problem in Iran in two ways. The laws are not as restrictive as Saudi Arabia, but even the laws that are there are used less often by men, much less than they are in Saudi Arabia. It's just seen as you would be shunned by society. For example, in Iran, a man can marry more than one wife, right? But people look at you weird if you take advantage of that. It's not socially acceptable if you do that, right? So that's all right.
So next question, Erica Shu's asking, hi Armin and Ali, can you explain how a fatwa works nowadays? When a fatwa is issued by a mufti, how serious is it? How likely is a fatwa to be carried out? Thanks.
A lot of people think fatwa is about killing people. Most fatwas are not about harming. Is that it is? I'm not saying, Erica, you're saying that, but people pass out fatwa left and right, and most of them are not that big of a deal. But go on, Ali. Do you know?
Yeah. Well, a fatwa basically is a religious decree, religious order that says you can do this, you can do that. For instance, I'll give you an example of a sort of a not very consequential fatwa. There was the Ayatollah Sistani, right? He came out, all of the other Iranian Ayatollahs were or the Shia Ayatollah said that you can't eat gelatin. So gelatin is what you find in Jello and a lot of gummy bears, things. You can't eat that because it's made from pigs. Sistani said that, no, you can eat gelatin. It's fine because it's not pig meat. It's like, there's a chemical change and blah, blah, blah. He gave some justification that doesn't make any sense. And he allowed it. So that's also a fatwa, whether you can eat gelatin or not. But the fatwa that is famous is the one against Salman Rushdie. That's when it became a mainstream word. And Salman Rushdie wrote the satanic verses. And Khomeini, who's the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran, put out a fatwa saying that he needs to be killed. So that basically gave a message to all Muslims around the world, regardless of the laws of your country, wherever you are. This is a religious, spiritual order that this man has blasphemed, and he must be killed in the name of God. So a fatwa is basically a religious decree, an order given out by someone who's got religious authority. Think of it like the Pope going out and saying, all of you must do this, and the Catholics would follow it. That kind of thing. That's what a fatwa is at its basic.
Erica is saying, I know it's not, I know it can be anything, but just want to know how strict it's followed. Okay, so the thing is that there's no force on following these. Like, it doesn't become law. It just depends on how seriously you take the person that is giving the fatwa. There's no requirement for you to follow. Like, you could be like, if a religious leader gives a fatwa, you could be like, well, I don't follow you. I follow that other guy. So it's not required for you to follow. And to be fair, most religious leaders say that, you don't have to. When I give a fatwa, if you follow a different religious leader than mine, as long as you think that you have done your due process, I'm being very fair, by the way, here right now, okay? As long as you don't have to follow me, and you're not going to be considered sinful if you followed somebody else, as long as you were careful on how you decide who you're following. So even the people who are issuing the fatwas don't make it seem like not following their fatwa gets you into trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's basically the thing on fatwas. I mean, again, remember, in Islam, there isn't really a central authority like there is, for example, for Catholicism, where the Pope says something, and every Catholic follows it. There's no central sort of figure. So different sects and different communities have different leaders that they follow. Even within, say, the example I gave with Shia Islam, they do taqlid. They take one sort of scholar, and everybody kind of follows them, right? So. And they divide. Some of them follow one, some of them follow the other. So, go on. The next one. John M. is saying, do you have any favorite or recommended debates or conversations between atheists and people of faith?
All right, let me read it one more time because you cut out when you were reading. Do you have any favorite or recommended debates on conversations between atheists and people of faith? High-quality thinkers on both sides. There's no such thing, John M. Conversation between atheists and people of faith, and you want high quality thinkers on both sides. How could you get high quality thinkers on the people of faith side? That's impossible. My answer is there's no such thing. If any debate between atheists and people of faith, you could only get high quality thinkers on one side, which would be the atheist side.
This is a terrible thing to say, but I agree with you. I mean, you can't, if you have somebody on one side, someone's arguing for talking snakes, on the other side, there's someone saying, no, snakes don't talk. I mean, but people of faith, but I know what you mean. I would watch, Sam Harris had a debate with Reza Aslan a long time ago. I think it was in the late 2000s. That was really good. I really liked Christopher Hitchens had a debate with Tony Blair, I think. It was one of the Muck debates that I thought was really good as well. I mean, those are the two that I can remember immediately. And, well, if you want entertainment, then Richard Dawkins and Mehdi Hassan on Al Jazeera. That was actually hilarious. Again, not exactly. So Mehdi Hassan is actually a pretty smart guy politically. I don't think he's a dumb guy. But on this topic, I wouldn't say he was a high quality thinker.
He just recently came out in an article calling Bill Maher a racist because of his criticism of Islam.
Yeah, in that thing, they were arguing about flying horses. Dawkins was saying, "You believe a flying horse?" And he was saying, "Yeah, I believe in a flying horse." That was the debate. So, high quality thinkers? Question mark.
Yes. Muscat saying, should Christmas become a secular only holiday? I mean, isn't it already?
It already is functionally. I mean, it's got the word Christ in it. I have we just put up the Christmas tree downstairs, like in our place, and we've done that. Whether even my Muslim family and friends, they all do it. It's the kids love it. Santa Claus, who cares? I mean, it's been secular for a long time. Easter bunnies, like what is like Easter apparently came from, and this could be a myth. Like, was it oestrus or whatever this goddess? That's where the word estrogen come from. She's the goddess of fertility. That's why you have bunnies and eggs. Bunnies and eggs have nothing to do with the Christ being resurrected or anything like that. Bunnies and eggs have to do with fertility. So yeah, I mean these things are already secularized. Qasim is saying, "You are genius, Armin. Great point. You have hikmah."
Hikmah. Yes. This is in reference to me noticing the Ya Hassan, I think. Yeah. Qasim, thank you, Qasim. Okay, believe it. Oh no, I already highlighted
read that one.
What's this?
Armin.
Oh, of course. Yeah, Armin. What are the material effects of the sanctions on the streets? So the government of Iran has been really trying to put all the people be struggling really bad. It's really really bad. It's getting worse every goddamn day. It's getting worse, right? But what Iran's government is trying to do is to blame it all on Washington, and it's not working. The people in Iran are looking at all the economic devastation, and they're blaming it on Iranian politicians. So life is really tough. The currency is dropping like a rock. A lot of people are switching from eating meat to eating chicken feet for the first time. People are sending pictures of their empty fridges. It's really bad. It's really really bad. There are lines.
The currency. The currency, the devaluation of the currency is absolutely massive. I mean, I think just a couple of years ago, or it was 60% or something, or more. I'm not getting the exact thing right. Unemployment is at the highest levels ever, and most of Iran is young. Like 70% of the population is around 30ish, right? So it's they're struggling. They're economically struggling a lot.
Yeah, it's really bad. Here's another one. What do you guys think of Al Jazeera? Are they biased? If so, what degree? Thanks. Okay, it depends on if you're speaking Al Jazeera English or Al Jazeera Arabic. Al Jazeera Arabic is so extremely biased. Al Jazeera English is also biased, but by much, much, much less. And the problem is Al Jazeera English has so much good programs that even with their bias, it's still worth watching. You just have to be aware of where they are biased and what the bias is for. And I consume their content all the time because they have so many good coverage on so many different things that I'm not gonna there's not gonna be much. There's not that much media out there that doesn't have some sort of bias towards something. Even if there's not political bias, there's going to be profit motive bias, right? It's just important, don't give up on any sources just because they're biased. Just know what the bias is going to be and what direction and about what, and then consume that content knowing what that bias is, right? But I like Al Jazeera English, even if they are biased. But go on, what do you think?
I agree with that. I should add one thing. So I've had a few friends who worked at Al Jazeera English, and they actually have those operated out of Doha, Qatar, right? That's where it's headquartered. Qatar is still not; it's still a monarchy. They are actually the one place of bias they have is that they don't talk critically about Qatar. They talk critically about the Saudis. They're very, very reserved on those two things. So even Al Jazeera English, right, has selective biases in some places. But Armin is right. I mean, I remember after 9/11, Al Jazeera Arabic was going around calling the terrorists freedom fighters, calling them freedom fighters pretty openly. Al Jazeera English wasn't doing it. So there's a pretty stark difference.
Yeah, whenever Al Jazeera has any takes on Saudi Arabia, I mean, I am very, very, very anti-KSA, but I am aware of Al Jazeera Al Jazeera is much harsher on Saudi Arabia and all the other Gulf Arab countries except Qatar relative to how they talk about Iran. Like I noticed the difference, but I noticed like they're not as, I mean, as aggressively anti-Iran as they should be, right? But again, it's just we need to be aware of this. Ghost Bunny saying I don't have a question. I just want to be here to simp. Well, that's great. I love having
What does
Ghost
that
Bunny.
mean? I still don't know what simp means. I think you
That's
brought it
why
up.
you don't have. That's why you don't have simps.
What does that mean?
It's okay. Don't worry, Ali. Don't worry.
Can someone Jeez. Okay, okay. I'm not the one who can ask anything. Apparently, all of you guys can. So there you go.
No, okay.
I'll think about it later.
Simp is okay, guys. Some people simp for Ali, so he's not sad about it. Okay.
Hey, I'm gonna say the Yahtzee word if you don't tell me what simp means.
Oh, hey. Simp is somebody that wants your attention because they're sexually attracted to you without any chance of ever getting to be with you sexually in any way.
Oh, okay. I didn't even care at this point. I just wanted to see if you would succumb to that threat. You did. It was beautiful.
Pineapple on pizza? Yes or no?
Okay, pineapple on pizza? Hell yeah, of course. Yes. Of course, pineapple on pizza is great.
Depends. I know we're gonna lose. We just lost a half of our patrons, by the way, guys. Because we just said the most controversial thing on this channel, we're gonna lose some patrons. So please link to our Patreon in the description. If you think that we shouldn't be canceled just because we like pineapple on pizza, please consider becoming a patron, because we're probably going to lose a couple of patrons just because of this position.
The YouTube is going to demonetize this video because we said pineapple on pizza.
Right. Okay, here. Boy, Bulbul is here.
Bulbul. Okay, like many wokes have a bigotry of low expectations, do you think several ex-Muslims have a reverence of low expectations with respect to other toxic ideologies? Hey, you're a very good writer, Bulbul. That was very articulately worded. And I mean, I don't think they think of it as a reverence of low expectations. Neither do the wokes think of it as bigotry. But yeah, you have this. I mean, there's a tendency for people to want to choose sides. And a lot of times ex-Muslims get caught in this. So rather than, and most of us, I have to say, like the vast majority of them that I know, and I've done polls on this stuff too, formal polls. But even the informal polls, it seems that most of them have their shit together. But when it comes to this stuff, like some of them align, like the wokes, you know, they align with, they have the bigotry of low expectations. Some ex-Muslims, they're given a platform. So generally, the more far right outlets, you know, Trump is like the Trumpistan is kind of into banning Muslims and, you know, the Muslim ban and all this stuff. So what they do is they say, you know, here you have a platform. If you're an ex-Muslim, we're going to give you a platform. And then they are tempted by the platform because they don't have a platform otherwise. The left isn't going to give them one. So there is sometimes that kind of tension. Many dynamics that go into it. Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to make, even though I don't think it applies to most ex-Muslims.
Bulbul is our legal expert in India. She helps us with our Sexy Cali case. So thank you, Bulbul, for that.
Thank you, Bulbul.
All right, hold on. This one.
All right. Nusant is asking, Indonesia wants to ban alcohol. This despite the fact that it is vital to the culture of the Batak and of all Indonesian ethnic groups. Life was better under the secular dictator. Ooh. That's a comment, really, less of a question. But generally, I mean, you do hear that sometimes. People, you know, who, you know, like, for example, you're in Egypt, you've got a secular dictator, you're allowed to do all these things that you want to do. The Muslim Brotherhood comes in with 60% of the vote, and then suddenly you get these other laws, even though you have a democracy. It's a tough sort of, it's a tough needle to thread, but, you know, I think it's a little bit of push and pull. That's how eventually progress happens, and you decide what you want. I don't know.
I don't think we should use, because any form of the authoritarian regime relative to any other form of authoritarian regime, they're not going to be as equally as bad. One of them is going to be worse than the other, just because it's impossible for two different authoritarian regimes to be equally bad. But just because one of them is worse than the other, we have to be careful not to let anybody use that as a form of endorsing one of the forms of authoritarian regimes. Like, I'm not gonna be like, man, I wish I have AIDS because this cancer is horrible. I mean, it's just a weird way. Like, just like, you know what I mean? Because I just want to. I understand that it's true to say one of them is less bad than the other one, but you have to be careful with not coming across as if you're endorsing any form of authoritarianism, because even if you're not saying that, it might come off as that, and it might be consumed like that. All right.
Murtad Skeptic is asking, what are each of your most embarrassing kinks, then most embarrassing stories separate from that? Kinks, like just,
oh my God,
non-sexual kinks or sexual kinks?
What the hell is a non-sexual kink? Oh my God. All right. Let me answer because you're so out of that's not.
Oh, you think I can't have sexual kinks? Seriously?
No, you don't even know what this means. Non-sexual kinks? What is a non-sexual kink? Okay, let me just
obsessions, fetishes. Kink is not just, okay, anyway, go on. Let's not get
okay.
into that.
I do not have any embarrassing kinks. I have many kinks, and I'm not embarrassed of any of them. What do you mean embarrassing kinks? There's no such thing as embarrassing kinks. All kinks are, as long as you're not harming anybody without their consent. Kinks
which one do you have that may be seen as embarrassing by others?
I'm not gonna say it on YouTube. Well, first of all, if I said my kinks here on live on air with you guys, we will be strike off the air. So I'm not gonna say anything. It could be kids watching, okay? It could be kids watching right now. So I'm not gonna tell you my kinks. But just because YouTube has standards and I can't tell you what my kinks are, that doesn't mean that I'm embarrassed about any of my kinks. I have zero embarrassing kinks, okay? All my kinks are fantastic. I'm proud of my kinks. Anyways.
Embarrassing story.
No, embarrassing stories. Oh, okay, embarrassing stories. I was at this event, and everybody, like, this was like a finance event. I used to be a finance student, and there was this private equity person. This is not very interesting, but it was very embarrassing. And and everybody was asking him questions, and it was my turn. And as soon as I started asking my question, there's a spitball that just came from all the way, just from my mouth, landed on his cheeks, and everybody saw it. And it was just he didn't want to embarrass me, so he didn't wipe it out. But it ended up being worse because it was so big, and it landed on his cheek, and everybody could see it, and everybody was pretending like it didn't happen, and it was just slowly going down his cheek, and he wasn't wiping it. It was really bad. Okay, so that was my embarrassing.
Okay.
All right.
Do I have to do this too? Oh yeah, I do.
Yes, you do.
Embarrassing kinks. I'm really sorry. Same kind of thing. Slightly different answer to Armin. I'm a very, very boring person when it comes to that area. Just like the regular old BS stuff. Just normal. So yeah, I don't have any embarrassing kinks. And then embarrassing stories. I have one. I used to work as a clinical pathologist, and I was doing during my residency an autopsy, and there was a patient who had died of stage 4 lymphoma. It was everywhere. It's a blood cancer. It was everywhere. And when we got to his intestines, I found some sorry, I'm cutting out.
A little bit.
I found some congealed wax in his rectum. Okay, that looked like a candle when you have a candle and then it solidifies. When it melts, then it solidifies again. So I was thinking, this guy is so, and my attending was with me, my supervisor was with me. And she said, what is this? And I told her, I was like, what? This guy had stage 4 cancer. And why would he use a candle? I just didn't understand. Why was he using a candle to, put it in his butt? And I couldn't think of anything else that could be possible. And she agreed with me. We both thought, we're like, okay, I guess everybody has their own kinks. I guess this guy, even though he was on the verge of death, he decided to do this. It turns out it was a suppository, because a poor guy, late stage cancer, was constipated, and they had put in a suppository. And I was so, I felt I wasn't just embarrassed for my attending, because she kind of considered it too, so she was with me in it. But I just felt so bad that I thought of a poor man on the verge of death. I just had this image of him, using a candle on himself.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I would have preferred the spitball incident.
All right. No, but yeah, that was good. Okay.
It's terrible, man.
It's not. No, I mean, if anybody is watching and if they have late stage cancer and they were gonna go do kinky stuff,
oh man, Armin, I feel bad
don't
about
don't shame. No, don't shame them. It's okay. Maybe that's how they want to. Like, you're making it seem like that was such a ridiculous assumption. What if somebody's
even if he did do it?
Yeah, that's fine. No,
I know,
don't shame them. Like, we might have somebody that is about to die right now from late stage cancer, and they were just deciding to spend their last moments alive doing something kinky, and you just told them that you feel bad for even considering that. Imagine how you're making them feel right now listening to this.
Armin Navabi, I did not judge him for doing that. What I feel bad, the embarrassment part is my guilt at the end for thinking.
No, but you are indirectly judging them by you're judging yourself for thinking somebody could even consider that. You're judging the people that would consider doing something kinky the last minutes of their life. So you're indirectly kink shaming people
on
by
the side,
yeah.
It was a differential diagnosis. I was being open-minded, more like open-behinded. But anyway, let's go on. Move on. Nusant is saying, well, you already read this, Armin. This is already
we did?
Yeah, Indonesia wants to ban alcohol.
Go here.
All right. So next question from Nusant. What do you think about the Turkic Fascist Party, second most popular in government, splitting in two because half supported Islamic rapist marriage and ultranationalist women didn't like that? There's a lot there, Nusant, but I don't know that much about it. I actually don't know about this Turkey. And there's other questions about Turkey. Someone saying, what's the perception of Turkey in the Middle East right now? Did you see that one from PD Basement?
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Maybe
Where
we
is
should
that?
talk about that because that's, I think, more of something.
Oh, here.
About. Yeah.
This one.
What is it, Armin? The perception of Turkey?
I mean, in the Middle East right now, I mean, I think I have a problem with this question a little bit. Sorry, PD, because it just seems like depends on. I mean, even within one country in the Middle East, there's so many different takes on Turkey. What about them? Like, a lot of people, okay, so which country? Like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the Gulf Arab states, and specifically what move, right? Like, on the whole situation with Azerbaijan and Armenia, or on their position with regards to Israel, or them trying to bring back the Ottoman Empire, them trying to take more control over the Mediterranean, their positions over Mohammed cartoons in France, them still trying with all the human rights records and all the empire building, them still being bold enough to say, like, yeah, by the way, we're still pushing for becoming part of the EU. Like, which position? Like, it's like could be its own live stream, and it could be depending on which country in the Middle East you're talking about and what position. So it's I don't know how to answer this, because the Middle East as a whole doesn't have one perception over Turkey, and each country doesn't even have one perception over Turkey. It doesn't even have one perception over each one of their policies or which one of their actions. So again, I don't know how to answer that. How would you answer that?
I agree with you. I don't know that much about. I just know about what's happening with Erdogan and everything, but I don't know that. I'm actually fairly ignorant on this, especially recently. So I'm gonna go with it. I
do want to say that Turkey has been very. I think, like, when it comes to, here's one thing I wish to tell you, okay? Not because it's the most significant one, just because it came to my attention that Turkey is using national pride and religious symbolism as a way to get people, to motivate people to root for the government. A lot in some interesting ways that the Iranian government is probably going to look at and take notes on. Okay, if the Iranian government didn't have to constantly throw some red meat at its religious base, it would have been so easy for them to start looking at, for example, making movies and TV series on Iran's pre-Islamic empires, and get some Iranians like, yeah, we strong, we be strong, we gonna destroy our enemies. It's just really hard to do that because that's a pre-Islamic era. But Turkey gets to do that because their empire, their most powerful empire, was post Islam rather than Iran, which was pre-Islam, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're looking at that because right now it's really off-putting for a lot of Iranians that do want to enjoy some strength in the Islamic Republic at attacking its enemies, but they're tired of all this religious talk. Okay, but yeah, so that's just
it's interesting because nationalism, when you start going on a nationalist kick, right, then you tend to look to your history and where you came from, and so that you see that in Iran, and that's actually a really good point, that their major empire was pre-Islam, but with Turkey, their nationalist kick is actually very intimately tied to the Islamic Empire, the Ottoman Empire. So that's kind of interesting how those two mix. Murtad Skeptics asking, for the people reacting to, it's a comment, I guess, for the people reacting to the whole Hassan thing, once we've seen that religion seems to be declining in Iran, do you think they're coming mainly from the actual Shias, or is there a second part to this?
Oh, yeah, very good.
Or are the ones who left also pressured into it? How big is the reaction?
Wait, let me understand. For the people reacting to the whole Hassan thing, once we've seen that religions seem to be declining in Iran, do you think they are coming mainly from actual Shias, or are the ones who left also persuaded? Okay, so this is not persuading people. This is kind of like signaling to their base that to fall in line, stop asking for. It's not an act like, so people like, okay, so it's really difficult because for a long time, people who were extremely religious, anti-American, anti-Israeli, there wasn't that much division between them. They were fully on behind of Khamenei and supporting him, right? And it's usually the opposition that is divided. But right now, we're saying that even the hardliners, there's a division between them. So I think that this is like, there's a lot of internal struggling going on among some religious people when Khamenei says something that they don't like, because technically they don't want to catch themselves disagreeing with him. So it's kind of like when these messaging is not coming from the reformists and it's coming from some of the more hardliners, it's kind of like signaling to the base of Khamenei that, guys, this is like, stop trying to push us in a position that is too, like, I mean, they're all going to keep acting like they are destroying their enemy and they're retaliating, but at the same time they want to like just mellow it, like, just, it's just like a nod, wink, nod, because they can't openly say it. They can't openly tell their base that, guys, we're going to be less aggressive, less retaliatory, because that will be a sign of weakness. So they have to signal it in a more subtle way. That's what it is. It's not like it's more of a signal rather than an argument. Okay, here's
So Muhammad is asking, what is your best argument against Islam?
My best argument against Islam is that there are zero good arguments for Islam.
Yeah, no, and it's just a lack of evidence. It's the same as any argument against any other religion or any other idea, that homeopathy, astrology, whatever. I mean, the problem is when you get into debates with people, Armin, like especially whether it's an Islamic person or a Christian person, one way that you know that they are struggling is they start getting more and more into details and they get more into the intricacies. And when they do that, right, they take you to a place where they think you may not be familiar. the way to debate that is to bring them back to basics. They're like, wait, hold on. What is the evidence that this was a divinely written book? Let's just talk about that. Does God write books? Go back to the basics. Go back to the talking snakes and the fairy tales. Do they make sense or not? That is the best argument against any of this stuff. There's no evidence for it. There's no evidence that it's true.
Actually, that's a good segue to this question.
Okay, Nusantara is saying, do you think there's a path away from religion by emphasizing the non-religious culture and steering towards syncretism, i.e. Iranian culture plus history over Islam?
No.
That's a great question.
No.
I actually think that there is. I don't think that he's talking about reform here. I don't think this is, if you're talking about reform, then no, I don't think that's effective. But if you're talking about away from religion by saying, for example, secularizing the holidays, like Christmas, Easter is about bunnies and eggs, and Christmas is about Santa Claus and reindeer, like stuff like that. When you secularize these rituals, then you take them away, because one of our biggest problems is that religion has a monopoly on so many things, on morality, charity, all these things that they try to say, and they also have a monopoly on, say, art and culture and music, and take the holidays, the rituals, the things that are fun, that people, the community aspects of it, right? Make them secularize them, move them away, and take elements of your culture. This is what syncretism is, when you take elements of different culture and they come together, and religions, and that is, I think, is a path away from religion. Yes, I think that it is.
That is completely different from what the question is about.
Okay. What's the question about to you?
No, because so this is more of a competition with religious culture. It's not okay. So I completely like taking religious culture and pulling out its teeth by secularizing it. Okay, I am very much in favor of that. That's a good idea. Okay, but I do not like competing with religion using other non-religious culture. Okay, those as a way to build an identity. Okay, because here's the thing: when you use culture, so for a lot of people, religion is not, it's just a set of belief system. For a lot of people, religion is an identity. Okay, it's like a clothes, like if it's a fashion, it's something you wear. You don't even need reasons to see why it's true or why it's not true. You're showing people, when you wear your religion, you're just showing people, this is who I am, this is the tribe that I belong to. Okay, the way we want to fight religion is by showing people how ridiculous religion is and how it doesn't make any sense. Okay, and we want to encourage people to not make their ideas into their identity. Okay, by separating their ideas from their identity, it's going to be easier for us to attack those ideas, because then attacking those ideas is not going to be a personal attack on them. It's just questioning what they believe in. Okay, when you use culture as a way to attack other non-religious culture, for example, pre-Islamic history of Iran as a way to attack religion, you're saying this idea, you're challenging one identity by a different identity. So you are going back to turning ideas into a signaling of who you are and which tribe you belong to, and you're basically fighting one form of tribalism with another form of tribalism, right? So you are telling people to basically make a different fashion statement. You're telling people, like, this is your identity, but what if this was your identity? This is a more beautiful identity. This is not like looking at those ideas and saying, like, we'll separate ideas from your identity and just look at them and see if these ideas match reality or not. No, they're like, look, this is a better fashion statement than that. And the thing is, when you do that, first of all, you're not equipping people you're not giving people the bullshit radars to recognize which ideas are bad. And these even if you're successful with these new ideas, the way that people are now challenging religion is not a methodology that we want to be promoting, right? So it's going to be about, oh, I'm going to go with these ideas because these ideas make me feel better, or these ideas, I like belonging to this group of people, so I'm going to associate myself with these ideas. It has very little to do with whether these ideas work or whether they make they make societies progress faster, whether they are based on reality, or they match, or they're if you put them, if you scrutinize them, they they keep standing. No, it has nothing to do with that. It's just based on like I want to belong to this tribe. These make me feel better. I get the nostalgia. These, if you use that methodology to get people to switch from one tribe to another, the methodology itself will keep giving you bad ideas and bad solutions to real world problems. And actually, this is something that I used to guess, but I don't even have to guess anymore, because if you look at Iran, for example, this whole idea of turning, forgetting Muhammad as this prophet that could do no wrong, and now making King Cyrus, they're replacing Muhammad with King Cyrus, right? And you're looking at the pre-Islamic Persian Empire as if it was this utopia that everybody was always happy at all times, and the ancient kings of Iran did never do anything wrong, and Persia was like heaven on earth, and they were like centers of, like, if you, for example, right now among the anti-religious people in Iran, anti-Islam people in Iran, if I go suggest to them that Greek philosophers and scientists were ahead of Iranian philosophers, like the pre-Islamic history, right? If I tell them that Greek was a much greater center of learning than ancient Iran ever was, that is blasphemy to them. That is blasphemy. If I say King Cyrus did this wrong or that wrong, that is blasphemy to them. I have lost allies and friends within the Persian community how we're making like blasphemous cartoons of Muhammad and Kelly and all that. The mere suggestion that maybe I will do this with King Cyrus got so many people coming at me, and so many people think that I'm a traitor to Iranian nationalism and all that crap, that the reaction, and that was just a mere suggestion of it. So that's why I think I'm actually going to go and make a cartoon of King Cyrus, because of this reaction that I'm getting, because it seemed like I need to blaspheme against Iranian nationalism as well.
Yeah.
Go on now.
Okay, let's wrap up. I'm totally for the cartoons and everything like that, but I just think I interpreted this question differently. If there's a path away, I'm going by what we said. But there you go. Now you have our views. Next question. Amb is saying, do you think search engines like Google are censoring critics of Islam? If you search things like slavery and Quran on Google, you get Yaqeen, while on Bing, you get Wiki Islam. Oh, I don't know that. I'm going to try that out right now. Yeah. I don't know if they are. I think I don't, like, whenever I see this stuff about they're censoring this, everybody has this thing that they're censoring us. It
might be true. I don't know.
It might be true. I don't really think I've seen enough evidence of it. Every time I've wanted to Google anything as an atheist or an ex-Muslim, whatever, it shows up. I've never had any issues. So yeah.
But that might be true. But I think the right answer is we don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so Matt Rose is saying, how likely is Proud Boys versus Antifa civil war going to happen when the Electoral College submits their vote on December 14th?
Define civil war. But if you're actually talking about the literal like arms, no, very, very unlikely.
The thing is, the liberals have come out and they've pretty much overwhelmingly rejected Antifa and these like far left elements. If anything, that probably harmed them. The fact that Trump did more, like, better than expected in this election is also probably because of these far left elements. The liberals are pretty aware of that. So I think that they're probably not going to get a lot of traction. When you have far extremist governments in power, you tend to get extremist oppositions. I think the fact that you have a sort of a reasonable, moderate, liberal government in power is probably going to temper down both the extremist elements of the right and the left. So
all right,
you might have some skirmishes, but I don't know. So
given that we're already above an hour, Ali, let's try to do shorter answers, okay?
Yeah.
From
how
now
long
on,
are we going this far? Isn't this supposed to be longer than an hour?
Yeah, but not too much longer than an hour. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. By the way, if I say
you want to do half an hour more, just half an hour more.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. So Fawad is saying, would you ever have Reza Aslan or some other professor that is an Islam apologist on the podcast? Yes. I'd love to. We've actually reached out to Reza Aslan, and he doesn't come on. He prefers to do his spats on Twitter and things like that, where you can get away with a lot less. You don't have to sit there and actually come up with answers. So, Adam Stewart is saying, "What's your take on Aina? Nice mango. She seems to have lost her mind. Am I wrong? Are you fans?" Aina was actually a really good friend of mine at one point. And the weird thing is, we actually agree on a lot. Like, me and Aina are pretty aligned when it comes to our politics and everything. It's just that she's obsessed with a lot of things I'm not really obsessed with. I feel like their focus is on. I agree. I think I agree. I think she's lost her mind. It's like the Dave Rubin, of the other side. You've got Dave Rubin on one side and you've got Aina on the other. It's just to me, it's like that. But I agree more with her on just general things.
Ali is just trying to be polite. She's a moron. She's an idiot.
No, I'm saying politically. I'm telling you. I'm comparing her to Dave Rubin, I'm saying the same thing you are. Yes, but I'm just saying that politically, like, I have almost nothing in common with Dave Rubin, but with her, I do. No, so it's unfortunate. She used to do good work. That's what I'm saying. At one point,
but I didn't know her then. So when people say she seems to have lost her mind, I always think like, wait, she was sane at some point? Oh, that was a major loss. So I never knew her when she was sane. I only knew her since she went.
Ayaan Hirsi mentioned her in her book and everything like that. I mean, she was.
I'm just saying that I never knew her when she was sane. I only knew her insane phase. Okay. But did she do something new that was insane? Because she's like Adam. She's been insane. Hold on, she's been insane for a while now. So I don't know if Adam is referring to something new. But no, it's been like a couple of years. Like she has the worst takes on the most obvious stuff. Like, she's absolutely ridiculous. But here, let's go here. What do you think of Mufti Abu Layth version of Islam? This is easy. Guys, so this is like another attempt at devaluing hadith. The hadith is so ridiculous. I love this civil war that is happening within the Islamic community about the role of hadith, because the Islamic hadith is so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that many Muslims, so-called scholars, have realized that with the internet and everything, it's going to be so easy to show people how batshit crazy Islam is, right? Just like, take Sahih Bukhari and just show people that it tells you that there were a couple of monkeys that stoned a bunch of other monkeys because they had premarital sex. That's Islamic hadith. And that is hadith. That's authentic hadith. This is part of Islamic canon. And there are so many other things here that is so ridiculous that is, even by Islamic standards, is indefensible, okay? But not by Islamic standard, by Muslim standards, okay? By Islamic standard, it was never defensible. It's all like just a bunch of crap. But so the first attempt, which obviously failed, was to try to the Quranists rised up to try to say, like, guys, let's forget the hadith, just focus on the Quran, which is beautiful because the Quran itself is already batshit crazy. So whatever they try to do, it's not going to work, right? But the Quran is being a Quranist, which ignoring hadith doesn't make any sense, because most of Islamic teachings comes from the hadith, not from the Quran. But now there's this new attempt by people like Mufti Abu Layth that are trying to say, like, you know what? For the past 1300 years, all the processes that everybody has understood to be not actually, let's say 1200 years, the processes that we came up with to figure out which hadith is right or wrong, you guys got it right. They try to be skeptical, promote skepticism about the hadith and be like, well, we don't know which one of these is true, which one of them is not, and they're not providing any other good alternatives for you to recognize which hadith is authentic. And that's the entire point. They're trying to confuse the Muslim community and the rest of the world about which hadiths are going to be taken seriously, which goes against 1200 years of mainstream Islamic narratives, which is not going to work. But it's really good to see them try, because the way that they're trying to do that is by highlighting how ridiculous hadith is. So this is basically destroying Islam from within. So I like it. I want to promote them because go on.
I was going to say, well, you were talking about keeping answers short. I'll just say it really
Sorry,
quickly.
sorry.
I love Mufti Abu Layth. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a good person. He's genuine. Great sense of humor. He's laughing. He makes me feel good when I see him. I prefer him and his style to actually a lot of a lot. We talk about this. We have our share of assholes in the atheist community. We do, and there's some really great people that we disagree with on the other side, and he's one of them. And I really, really like him.
I don't like him because he's going to reform Islam. I like him because he's destroying Islam. But go ahead.
A Star Keys is saying Messi or Ronaldo.
I have no idea.
Soccer players, Armin.
I know Ronaldo. I don't know who Messi is. I don't know which one.
Messi. Okay. Ivory is saying, do you think that Christianity allowed the developers of Enlightenment values to assume certain moral positions which they might have had to work their way through without it?
No. Christianity was a barrier that they had to ram through to be able to have. No. Okay. The only thing Christianity allowed them to do is to show how much more superior their Enlightenment values are compared to Christian values. It just made Enlightenment values look relatively a lot superior. That's all. But the only credit I give to Christianity is that it's relatively weak and pathetic enough for Enlightenment values to be able to crush it. So yeah, go on.
I'll say the same thing in a slightly different way, and this is if you read Tom Holland's book Dominion, I think he has a point that Christianity, unlike like New Testament as compared to Old Testament, New Testament allowed like people to have their individual relationship with God, allowed the separation of like a spiritual form of religion from a political form of religion, more so, even though Christianity is political too, more so than Judaism and Islam did. So it allowed a loophole for secularism to be slightly more, to not be as taboo, right? So I think that in that sense, it sort of helped pave the way for the Enlightenment. But always remember, the Enlightenment was anti-Christianity. The Enlightenment
didn't help
back against it.
Okay,
it's allowed a loophole, just like Trump taxes.
So don't use the word help. But I say it's like it made it a weaker enemy to defeat. It didn't help Enlightenment values. It became a weaker, more pathetic, barrier for Enlightenment values. But it was always a barrier, but it made it become a weaker barrier.
Help because of a loophole. Like that's what I would say.
All right. I don't have an answer to this one.
Bulbul, favorite Bollywood movie? Oh, I do have an answer. I have several answers to this.
Wait, I have that. Okay, good.
So, what, you have one? You have a Bollywood movie? So I got to tell you, Bulbul, so you're in India, right? There's a movie called Dil Chahta Hai with Amir Khan and was it Vinod Khanna's son, Akshay Khanna? And Akshay Khanna I was surprised at how good he was. Like, he was absolutely phenomenal as an actor. That's the thing that surprised me. He seemed like a good-looking commercial type, Govinda type guy, but he wasn't. Like, he was actually really, really, really good in that movie. So I really liked Dil Chahta Hai. I liked Three Idiots a lot. There's a movie called Door by Nagesh Kukunor that I thought was just a very original and just great story. And Delhi Belly. I don't know if that's Bollywood. Delhi Belly is like absolutely hilarious.
I know this is not technically Bollywood, but I'm going to use it as an answer anyway. Slumdog Millionaire.
It's a great movie. Danny Boyle, but not Bollywood.
It's not Bollywood. Okay, cool. Oh, wait. Hold on. How could I forget this? Is PK considered Bollywood?
Yes, PK was. Oh, okay. You're right. PK and oh my God, there's a movie called OMG. Oh my God. If you are an atheist and if you like, if you watch the atheist themed movies, like I think Paresh Rawal is in Oh My God. Watch Oh My God and watch PK. You're right.
I would have not forgiven myself if I had forgotten PK.
I'm so glad you reminded me of those two.
Yes.
Oh My God has actually some of the best atheist arguments. It's about an atheist who loses his shop. His shop gets burned down, and the insurance won't reimburse him because they call it an act of God, right? His shop fell down. So he goes and he sues God and he takes God to court. That's what the movie's about. And he's an atheist. So that's so great about the movie. Anyway, Maji is saying, what are your thoughts about the Chinese Communist Party and their treatment of the Uyghur Muslims? Has this had an effect with relations in China and the other Islamic states?
You got cut out. So ask the second question again. You got roboty.
Has this had an effect with the relations between China and the other Islamic states? So first, before we say anything on this, and I don't think we should say a whole lot about this, we actually had an episode on this with Nuri Turkel. And Nuri Turkel is he's in the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. So he's a big shot who's been working on this. He's from the Uyghur community himself, and he told us everything about what's happening there. So I'd refer you to that episode and watch that. I think he lays out the case a lot better than we can. Ivory is saying, how much did your views on women, trans people, other groups marginalized by your religion change after leaving your religion? I just recorded a video for ex-Muslims of North America called for their Awesome Without Allah campaign. And I said, for me, the best thing that it did for me personally, doesn't do this for everybody, but for me, is it made me a better person. It's because all of these people that I was supposed to be prejudiced against based on the secondhand morality that came to me from some ancient holy book like 1400 years ago, I didn't have to count on that. I could basically judge people based on my level of empathy. I could do good things because I wanted to do good things, not because I wanted to get to heaven, not because I didn't want to go to hell, not because of fear of punishment or, promise of reward.
Right, sure.
But just because I wanted to do the right thing. So a lot of those things I always had, but I always had sympathy for these kinds of people. I did not understand why religion did not, and that was where the cleft came.
All right, I'm gonna answer the second one, this one, because we're going on for too long. Because the answer is gonna be short. What should argument would be best? Okay, I think you're saying what argument would be best to be made towards people who insist that Islam isn't the problem and just bad governments. Very short answer: read the Quran, read the Hadith, and then that's it.
And read the second chapter of my book if you think it was just
bad.
Yes,
actually, read. Actually, never mind. Don't read the Quran. Don't read that. Just read Ali's book called Atheist Republic.
Second chapter.
Second chapter. Mortas kept saying, do you think Iran's lack of response to this, especially after the whole thing in January, could lead to no one taking them seriously? How likely are they to make it pass? Guys, I have to be clear. I didn't say Iran is not going to have a response. Iran might have a response. They're different. They're probably going to have a response, but what response, how strong, how aggressive is it? They're going to try to sell it to the United States as, come on, this wasn't that bad, and to their audience, to their own internal audience as like, come on, oh my God, we crushed them, look at them, we humiliated them. So there might be a response. I'm not saying there's not going to be a response, but they're trying to get away with a soft response, just like with Qasem Soleimani. When they retaliated, they actually called the Americans to pull their soldiers out so no Americans die, because that would have escalated things to a war. Okay, so just because they're trying to push for a less of a retaliation, especially now because Biden is coming in and they want to do a deal, that doesn't mean there's not going to be a retaliation. But the second part is, how likely are they to make it past this? They're very likely that they're going to make it past this. Iran has survived way worse than this. Iran was in a much tougher situation during the Iran-Iraq war, both economically and militarily. And also, Iran is in a much better situation than when Assad was, when he was dealing with a lot more, and Assad managed to survive all of this. So I'm not saying Iran will survive it, but I'm not saying it's not very likely for them not to survive it.
I just don't get, like, Iran, they've got so much amazing human capital. They've got oil. They've got all of these things. They can be such a great economic powerhouse. Why aren't they doing it? And I wonder if there are people in Iran who are thinking this way now. Like, why are we still doing this great Satan BS when we're up against a world that's hopeless? Like, let's just make peace, So Razib is here.
Don't say that. That's such cringe.
Yeah, I know, but still. I mean, look, I'm not saying that that's what I think. I'm thinking that there's a lot of people that are already thinking this. Hence the Ya Hassan banner. So we have a celebrity Razib here. Yes, we do. And Razib is supposed to. I almost had him booked on this, but I think we're going to. You have to catch up with him again to have him back on here. His last appearance here was great. And he found out I was a descendant of Muhammad, so that was interesting. What do you think the aftermath of the 2020 election will end up doing to conservative news networks like Fox? Pacman, Kulinski seem to hint they may lose substantial following to OANN. Yeah,
I don't know about that, but I'm enjoying the civil war between the conservatives right now. It's just so beautiful. I just don't know how long it lasts. I just hope it keeps going as long as possible, because we saw the left eating its own for so long, right? I just want to see some of the right-wing people used to be always very united because fetuses, we need to save the fetuses. So no matter what their disagreements was, they managed to somehow get on the same side on who they need to vote for. Most of them, at least, right? So there was not much internal civil war going on. But now with this whole Trump, was their father, not wasn't their, like this whole like them, they it seems like there's a major divide happening, and it's just so beautiful to watch. And I don't know how they might be able to get in line, and everybody's gonna just go become like most of them go back to being traditional Republicans like before. That's likely to happen, but if it doesn't, it would be great. It would be great if this, for the next 4 years, we have the Trumpist Republicans versus the more traditionalists going back to things like usual Republicans. If this keeps going on for the next 4 years, it would be so great. I don't think it's going to happen, but I really hope that the Republican Party just eats itself.
Kyle Kulinski, I feel like, is a little bit too doom and gloom on this. OANN is, and remember, it's less than 10% of Americans who actually think that Trump should keep on fighting the election. I mean, the vast majority of them think he's already lost. OANN and Newsmax keep on saying that, oh, it's up in the air, up in the air. Very few people believe in that. I don't think a substantial part of the audience is going to go there. I think Fox is changing a little bit, and they're evolving because they want to keep a large part of their audience. I think that they've done significant research into what would keep that audience, that conservative audience, and I think that OANN and going that direction is not going to do it. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as Kulinski and these guys are saying.
Yeah, they do doom and gloom. I think Pacman is a little bit more sane than
Pacman's very sane. I love Pacman
compared to yeah. No, I mean Pacman. The only thing I don't like about Pacman is that like somebody just makes a small facial feature, and Pacman is like they were visibly disturbed. They couldn't hold themselves. Like, and I look at the video, I'm like, okay, like you're being very hyperbolic, Pacman. I mean, I like his political take, and I think like he's like less like hyperbolic when it comes to his political position, but when it comes to people's reaction, conservative people's reaction to things, he's like way over the top. Like somebody goes like and like they could not, oh my god, they looked so confused, and they were like they didn't know how to respond. And like I'm looking at the video, and like the guy just went like Pacman makes it like so much bigger. Like
what if he looks at this and says, Hussein and Hassan, like seriously, Armin, like aren't you overanalyzing this? You know, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of Pacman stuff. I just see his tweets and his posts.
No, that's why I always say maybe. That's why I'm always checking with you guys. Like I'm looking, like you're doubting me. I'm doubting myself. I'm like, that's why when I showed you the Hassan, I was like, I was gonna see that if you notice something is wrong with it, just as I did. Like I didn't tell you anything. Like, tell me what's wrong with this picture, because I was like, am I seeing something that is like weird that I'm just like imagining it? So when I showed it to you, that's why I was testing. I was like, Ali, look at this picture. What's wrong with it? And then you got it immediately. So I was like, maybe I am seeing something here that needs to be. Again, I might be wrong, so I'm willing to admit that. Okay, Qasim. I want to, because I think Qasim is responding to Mufti. I would like this question is about that. I guess you guys know Islam better than me. Where is Islam's 5 principle coming from? They should have a source for that. Yes, exactly. When it comes to the 5 principles, 5 pillars of Islam, 4 of the 5 comes from the Hadith. 4 of the 5 pillars comes from the Hadith. And when this Mufti Abu Layth, they go and they want to reevaluate the authenticity of the Hadith, they feel like they're making Islam stronger, but they're basically taking out the pillars of Islam. Because when I want them to keep casting doubt on the pillars of Islam, because they're like, oh, we don't know if these are right or not. Like, oh my God, you are doing our job for us. You basically are like, if you manage to convince many Muslims that we need to be skeptical about the hadith, you do realize that you're not providing any reliable secondary method for them to figure. Like, if you say like, oh my God, these hadiths came 200 years after the death of Muhammad, so we don't know exactly if Muhammad said this or not, but you are not providing any reliable alternative to that for us to recognize, well, which hadith is right then. Okay,
which 5 pillars are you talking about? I think they're all in the Quran, all of them. Are you talking about the Sunni ones, the
Sunni ones? Yeah,
Shahada, prayer, fasting,
no,
zakah, and Hajj.
No, there's no other than the Shahadat.
It doesn't tell you how to pray. It doesn't
Right.
tell you how to fast. It doesn't tell you how to do Hajj. It doesn't tell you how to pay zakah. But all 4 of those ideas, they're all in the Quran.
Well,
daily prayer is in the Quran. Fasting is in the Quran. Hajj is in the Quran, and so is giving.
Okay, but the Shahadat is fully in the Quran, right? But the 4 of the 5 pillars of Islam, you would not be able to even. You would not. Okay, there's no way that you know how to do the Hajj if you don't have the hadith. There's no way you would know how to do the prayer if you don't have that.
It says so. That's what a lot of Quranists believe. They just mean pilgrimage to Mecca. It doesn't mean you have to throw stones on the pillars.
Right. That's what I mean. Like, you don't know. Like, you don't know how to do the Hajj.
I don't know.
You don't know how to do the Salah. You don't know how to do anything, any of them, right?
I don't know. I don't know how good an argument that is, but
it is a perfect argument. Like, nothing. Islam is unrecognizable. Islam is unrecognizable without the hadith. Islam is unrecognizable without the hadith. There's nothing like everything that a Muslim does throughout the day. You don't. If you take out the hadith, you have no idea if you're doing those things like you should. If how you should be doing those things.
Maybe unrecognizable based on how we've seen it, but the thing is that if you put it up against the Quran, it may be, but it's still consistent, right? So whatever that unrecognizable version of Islam would be, you couldn't say that it's not Islam just because you took it out.
You could go like this. You could go like this and be like, I'm doing the salat, right? You could go like
Armin.
You could be like, Ya Allah, well, like, this is the salat.
Yes,
I'm doing the salat.
You can, and that would be consistent.
Right, and it would be unrecognizable.
No, but it would be consistent with the Quran, because the Quran does not say don't do this or do that, or it doesn't tell you what gestures.
The Quran doesn't have that many commandments. There are very few commandments, like other than the, like, I don't know, how do you testimony in court, or the will, who gets what after somebody dies. More than 95% of what you do and how you do it in Islam comes from the hadith.
The Quranists also say that there are 6 places in the Quran. There's 6 verses that actually say the Quran is a fully detailed book. You don't need anything else besides. That's a contradiction.
That's a contradiction, because the Quran also says. Well, hold on, let me finish this, okay?
Yes.
The Quran also says that you have to follow the way of Muhammad, and it says the Quran is perfect and you don't need anything else. And it also says that you need to follow Muhammad as a role model. How on earth are you going to follow Muhammad as role model if you don't know what Muhammad did and what Muhammad said and what Muhammad did? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, it's controversial though. It's controversial.
That's
good.
Go
either way. Shahgal is saying, first case lodged under the new love jihad by Yogi A in India. How do we fight this anti-secular jihad in India? Whelp. New love jihad law. I don't know what that is, but the thing is,
love jihad is a conspiracy theory by Hindutva that says that Muslim men are marrying Hindu women as a way to spread Islam in India, and they're going after every time a Muslim man and a Hindu woman fall in love and they want to get married. These people get triggered. They want to attack their marriage ceremonies. They claim that the woman has been brainwashed and is being stolen for demographic engineering in India, and Islam is going to take over India any day now because of love jihad.
What is the law? This isn't law, and there's a case lodged against it.
So now they're trying to make it illegal for I don't know what the details of this law is. We're going to probably be covering it in the news, but they're trying to basically go after it legally, so that make me. I mean, basically, these people are anti-love. That's what they are. Like they think like if a Muslim man and a Hindu woman want to marry each other and there's full consent on both sides, these people somehow find a way to get themselves involved and tell them that no, you're stealing our woman, as if they have position over a Hindu woman. And it's very interesting because this claim of demographic engineering in India is coming exactly from people that are actually doing real demographic engineering and trying to turn Muslims into second-class citizens, and are moving people around Kashmir just to make it majority Hindu. Like the people that, basically is projection.
Harris Sultan is in the live chat. Harris Sultan, Pakistani Mulhid.
Where is he?
I'm seeing his comments at the end. He's clarifying the 5 pillars. He's talking about Tawheed, Salat, Fast, Zakat, and Hajj. Yeah, so he's talking about how Salat came from Riwayah, not Hadith. But for the Shia, actually, the 5 pillars are different. It's Tawheed and Adl and Nabuwat and Imamat is the prophethood and belief in the Imamate, which actually isn't in the Quran, and then Qiyamah, which is the afterlife and all that stuff.
But how to do them? You know very little about these things.
That's the idea. Look, the Ismailis, the Ismailis, they basically they're consistent with the Quran on all these practices, right? But the way that they do them, their namaz, their salah is completely different from what Sunnis do, but it's still consistent. So it's unrecognizable, but you can't say it's not Islam in practice because they do follow all of those things. Like when they do fasting, they don't do fasting with like food and drink and everything like that. They just pick a vice. Like if you swear too much, then it'll be like, okay, we're just not going to swear for a month. They don't do it during one specific month. They'll do it whenever. So they have their own, and it's all actually Quranically consistent. So
but again,
I'm not saying that it's I'm just saying it's controversial. I don't think that you can.
Oh, really? As something Islamic is controversial? What a great take, Ali. Harris Sultan Harris Sultan really gets it, because this is exactly what I wanted to address if we had more time. The thing is that what people like Mufti Abul Lake are suggesting is that we don't need. So the hadith they're trying to make hadith unreliable, and then if people like me go after them, like, well, then how do you do the salat? How do you do the hajj? How do you do this? How could you, like, they recognize that there's a problem here. There's a problem because everything about Islamic practice will go out the window if you try to question the hadith. And this is what a lot of traditional Muslims are afraid of. Like, you guys are destroying Islam by promoting skepticism about hadith. Like, Islam would not be able to stand if you get rid of the hadith. But what the solution of people like Mufti Abul Layth is, like, they're like, listen, if historically, effectively, these practices did not stand the test of time because they were in the hadith. People pass on traditions from one generation to another independent from the hadith. So they're trying to say, like, don't worry, Muslims who are getting so triggered and sad that what's going to happen to Islam if we say maybe Bukhari is not all correct, maybe Sahih Muslim is not all correct. Like, if we do that, don't worry, these practices will stay there because these traditions went from one generation to another. Yeah, it's not in the Quran. We're promoting, we're saying hadith could not be trusted, maybe not could be trusted, but these traditions will stay there because all the way from Muhammad to now, the Muslim community has consistently practiced handing things down from each other, and they've been the practices hasn't changed. But it's very interesting. But what Harris is mentioning here is that as much as the hadith transmissions are questionable, and the Muslims who believe in them want to keep pretending like there's a science to it, and that's why they've been preserved. As much as people like us want to say, actually, if you look into it, they haven't been preserved. But we could admit that the isnad and all the other, the matan or whatever standards they have when it comes to preserving the hadith, as faulty as it is, it's much stronger than what these new standards are with the traditions. Like, what are you talking about, Mufti Abulay? Like, do you really think that oral transmissions and people just passing on traditions from one generation to another is going to be like everything we know about traditions actually shows the opposite? Traditions change from one generation to another. They are never preserved. They never stay intact. So if you want to throw away the standards for keeping the hadith and say, well, don't worry, the traditions stay the same. No, this is actually even worse. This is even worse. If you actually look at every tradition in history, they always change in time. So good, please keep doing that, because you're going from one unreliable method to saying why all of this didn't change since the time of Muhammad to an even more unreliable method that will guarantee that everything has changed since the time of Muhammad.
All right. Okay. Let's wrap that up. Apostate Prophet is here too. He just joined.
Oh my God. Oh, really? Wow.
Saying respect to Master Armin and Master Ali Rizvi and Master Apostate Prophet. Hey, how's it going? It's really good. We need to have you back on again. We haven't talked to you in a long time. So what do you want to do? Wrap it up? Or?
Yes, I mean, it's so sad to wrap it up as soon as we get some celebrities in the live chat. But guys, subscribe to both Harris Sultan. Guys, these are... okay, if you are interested in Islam-related stuff and you want to support ex-Muslim YouTubers, okay, the main three right now that you need to focus on is the Apostate Prophet right here. So make sure you subscribe to the Apostate Prophet, other than, of course, Atheist Republic and Secular Jihadists, of course. But Apostate Prophet, and you so search for that. Make sure you subscribe to that, and also make sure you search for Harris Sultan. You make sure you subscribe to that as well. And he's not here, but shout out to also Abdullah Samir. Okay, so Abdullah Samir, Harris Sultan, and Apostate Prophet. If you're interested in ex-Muslim YouTubers, you need to be subscribed to these three. And if you're not, I don't know what you're doing. Like, there's something seriously wrong with you if you're not subscribed to these three channels. Okay. Yes.
Well, that's it. And if you liked what you heard today, if you had fun here, if you want to hear more things about people like candles or whatever, I don't know, then yeah, go to become a patron. Become a patron. We actually have Jamie Kilstein coming on, the comedian. He is going the comedian podcaster. He's gonna be coming on Thursday night. So if you're a patron, you're gonna be able to watch that live and ask questions. So that should be really fun. So do that. Just go to patreon.com/SJME for as little as $1. You can sign up and then watch all these things actually happening. And Tim Doran is saying, AP to Apostate Prophet, your video on why you don't believe in God nailed it. You spoke so many of the things that bothered me about theism. So there you go. There's an endorsement right there too. So
yes, and we got an endorsement from Apostate Prophet himself. Yes, by the way, Ali Rizvi has his own new channel as well. What's your Apostate Prophet saying?
Armin sat there and talked about working out and exercising and how he stays in such good shape and why he's cutting out ketchup because he can't lose like.
No, I was saying I didn't. I was considering it.
He's considering cutting out ketchup. It was too much sugar. Anyway, so no, but there's that thing was a lot of fun. So what on my podcast, what I do is I try to talk about things that are not necessarily related to this stuff that we do. So I do get a lot of atheists on the program, a lot of ex-Muslims on the program, and we talk about non-ex-Muslims, their lives outside of all of that. So it's actually a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, thank you very much.
Louis is saying, great show, guys. Keep up the good work. Yes, thank you. And guys, please support this show by becoming a patron. Link in the description. And what an honor to have both Apostate Prophet and Harris Sultan here at this live chat. This shows how great this channel is. When we have people like this just showing up on our channel, that means that we're doing something right. Anyway,
everybody
be best. And yeah.
Bye.
Bye.